Hi there, this is Lee. And what you are watching when you watch McQueen Press is a progressive channel. There are many progressive topics on the channel that I cover, and a progressive point of view. And the thing is, many progressives who watch this channel may find themselves in the same boat as me, that we have friends and perhaps relatives who are conservative. And so there's a different philosophy, but we're all one. We're all connected. And so I don't mind communicating directly with conservatives because, again, we're all people. And there's intersections where points of view cross. And I've noticed that it is not just progressives who are against the Trans Pacific Partnership. Many conservatives are as well, maybe for similar reasons, maybe for different reasons. And so this is one of the ways that we agree. And I'm proposing that before, during, after this election, that progressives and conservatives figure out a way to work together to defeat the Trans Pacific Partnership. And not only just the Trans Pacific Partnership, but also the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership and the Trade and Services Agreement. These are three egregious trade deals that are on the horizon that are both supported by our current president and perhaps the maybe incoming president, Hillary Clinton. Despite what her public position is, her private position is that she supports these agreements. The more free trade, the better. And so there's opposition, but we're a stronger voice if we work together. And I'm really hoping that conservatives will join in the fight against these trade deals. They're world ending, their extinction level, the investor state dispute settlement clause in these trade deals is obscene. It's unconstitutional. It's almost treasonous. And so we're hoping that we can get assistance, that when we stand together against these trade deals, when we protest, that you'll join in and protest with us. And then we can protest with you. Also, the concept of democracy itself is at stake. We've had one particular political party that has played dirty pool from start to finish. Even before the primaries started, there was fraud, there was a type of rigging. Various mechanisms were flipped and switched in order to assist one political party actually one political candidate over all others. It was dirty pool. It was not fair. It's not an equal contest. And so again, hoping that you can help us and stay vigilant in terms of election and voting issues. There is a difference between election fraud and voting fraud, and people are confusing the two different types of crime that are committed. Election fraud, it's systematic, it's political operatives, not the voters that are committing that type of fraud. Election fraud, it's party leaders, political operatives, election officials committing fraud against the voters. That's election fraud. What occurred during the Democratic primary against Bernie Sanders and against his supporters, that was election fraud. The voters did not commit the crime. They were victims of that crime. The crime was committed against them. Democracy Now, not Democracy Now, but Election Justice USA has a document at its website. It's a PDF and explains in detail precisely how this election fraud by election officials, political operatives, and party leaders was committed against the voters. Voter fraud is something else, and that is when the voters commit the fraud. While election fraud is much more frequent and systematic, voter fraud does occur, but at a far lesser rate than election fraud. And I say that particularly because Judicial Watch is going to be monitoring the polls in Virginia, the state of Virginia. And when I saw that at Judicial Watch that they were going to be monitoring the polls, I said, oh, good, because perhaps that'll help the Green Party, for instance, to make sure their votes don't get harmed or hampered. But it seems like Judicial Watch is focusing its efforts primarily and perhaps only on the possibility of voter fraud. That Judicial Watch is not making any attempt to address election fraud. And I don't think that that's quite a fair stance. That if they want to be a moral voice in terms of reform, that they'll watch all types of fraud or both types of fraud. Fraud in terms of vote flipping, machine hacking, vote purging, vote suppression, things like this, which is election fraud that may or may not happen in the state of Virginia. And then while they're doing that, also address any attempts at voter fraud. Not just one or the other, but both. If I can send one message to Judicial Watch, it would be that. So these types of coalitions or understandings, I think progressives and conservatives can work together. Even if there's different philosophies, there are sources of agreement. Definitely fair and equal access, fair treatment, I think is one thing that we can all agree on if we work together. So I just want to throw that out there. And anyone has any ideas of what ways that we can work together on things like this, then definitely let's hear each other out on ways forward. Good luck.